Today I learned Evel Knievel tried to beat a man to death with a baseball bat in 1977 for writing a book that portrayed Knievel as an immoral person. An author and promoter attacked by Evel Knievel 30 years ago reportedly plans to sue the late motorcycle daredevil's estate for tens of millions of dollars. Shelley Saltman, 76, won $12.75 million in damages after Knievel, who died in 2007, beat him with a baseball bat over a book he wrote about the star. Mr. Saltman was a promoter of Knievel's failed bid to jump Idaho's Snake River Canyon on a jet-powered motorcycle in 1974. He later published a book, Evel Knievel on Tour, which the stuntman complained had portrayed him as an alcoholic, a pill addict, an anti-Semite and an immoral person. In September 1977, a raging Knievel left Mr. Saltman's arm badly broken when he pummeled him with an aluminium bat in a car park. The stuntman, who broke nearly 40 of his own bones during his career, served 6 months in jail for the assault. Mr. Saltman maintains his book was an accurate warts-and-all portrayal of a man he admired. He told AP, "I've always felt pity for him. Because of this foolish act, he ruined his career." In the mid-1970s, Saltman was one of the principals in a company called Invest West Sports. His company was contacted by boxing and sports promoter Bob Arum to invest the money necessary to fund and promote the Snake River Canyon rocket cycle jump by motorcycle stuntman Evel Knievel. Saltman's company agreed with the condition that Saltman would head up the media promotion. During the months of promotion, Saltman carried a cassette tape recorder with him in order to record the elements of the promotion for an upcoming book. Knievel, Arum, and many others involved in the promotion were daily featured on the recordings, and Saltman claimed they were aware of his intention to write about his experience. 3 years later in 1977, Dell Publishing released Saltman's book under the title Evel Knievel on Tour, which included information about Knievel, information that Knievel claimed damaged his image and was misleading to the public. Knievel was outraged because he claimed the book misled the public about not only himself, but his family as well. When the news of Knievel's assault on Saltman was broadcast on national television, Saltman's elderly mother had a heart attack. She died 3 months later. Knievel received a sentence of 6 months in work furlough for his assault on Saltman. In 2007, Saltman released a second book entitled Fear No Evil, an insider's look at Hollywood, in which he told his side of the Knievel attack, as well as his involvement in American sports and media. Saltman died on February 16, 2019 at the age of 87.
Here's what the Redditors of TIL had to say about this.
Binger5 says, with the top comment, "This will prove my innocence." Evel the Chai Tai Chi responds, "I'm, bam, not crack, immoral." Dafter says, "Well, he did do infomercials selling quack medical devices in the 90s that ended with an FTC settlement." Lance Free replies, "Sure did. I remember watching those and losing the respect I had. Something which looked like a car cigarette lighter was going to alleviate all pain." Bigfoot Lives 823 says, "His son Robbie Knievel once threatened to uppercut me unless I told him where he could buy cocaine." Cheese hot dog jokes. Wow, the last name Knievel really loses its cool when you pair it with Robbie LMAO. Rony Man comments, "Born Robert Craig Knievel, the future daredevil once found him in jail with a man named Knothel, where together they became known as Awful Knothel and Evel Knievel." Bigfoot Lives 823 explains, "I worked at a place that hosted Evel back in the 70s for a jump, then Robbie in the early 2000s trying to outdo his dad. Not for nothing, the event was sponsored by Coca-Cola. There was a bar across the street that a lot of us employees frequented after work. The night before the jump we were there, mentally preparing ourselves for the event, which would turn out to be one of our busiest days of the decade. We noticed, across the bar, Robbie, his manager, mechanic and a couple other guys at a table next to the bathroom with empty glasses stacked as high as Robbie hoped to get. We all joked among ourselves that if he crashed the next day it would be impossible to tell if our crappy parking lot or his imminent hangover would be to blame. Eventually, it became necessary for me to walk past Robbie's table. I'll say my bladder was too full from the Coca-Cola I mentioned earlier because I was 100% under the legal drinking age and that fine establishment always eyed us regulars. Regardless, as I made my way towards the back corner of the bar, I could tell Robbie was eyeballing me, sort of sizing me up. A few steps away, he stood with the resolute determination only afforded by 10 beers and too much whiskey, knocking his chair over in the process. He stumble-stepped into the walkway, shorter than I expected, but no less obstructive. He was clearly having a hard time getting his eyes to focus, and instead of looking me in the eye, settled somewhere around my chin. He grabbed the front of my shirt, showed me a fist, and slurred through gritted teeth, "Or a broken jaw, tell me where to get some cocaine, or I'm gonna uppercut you." The guys at his table jumped into action. These guys were an F1 pit crew of bailing Robbie out. Everyone had a job and they were practiced to perfect efficiency. One guy started guzzling down the last of all the half-finished beers on the table, another started throwing down Andrew Jackson's for tip and scrambled to the bar to settle up. The last two, his manager and mechanic, clearly sober, clearly tired of Robbie's shit, come grab him by the arms and hustle him past me towards the door, one of them cussing Robbie good, the other saying in a bizarrely chipper voice, "Sorry man, big day tomorrow." And that was that. The next day was chaos at work. Robbie was late to the jump site. He cleared it easy, the crowd went wild. He came up to the podium for a post-jump presser and I forget 90% of what he said. The only thing that stood out was, without a hint of irony, he looked right down the barrel of camera one and said, "I'd like to thank Coke for making all of this possible." Disjux explains their Robbie Knievel story. "I saw Robbie Knievel at a grocery store in Los Angeles yesterday. I told him how cool it was to meet him in person, but I didn't want to be a douche and bother him and ask him for photos or anything. He said, 'Oh, like you're doing now?' I was taken aback, and all I could say was, 'Huh?' But he kept cutting me off and going, 'Huh? Huh? Huh?' and closing his hand shut in front of my face. I walked away and continued with my shopping, and I heard him chuckle as I walked off. When I came to pay for my stuff up front, I saw him trying to walk out the doors with like 15 Milky Ways in his hands without paying. The girl at the counter was very nice about it and professional, and was like, 'Sir, you need to pay for those first.' At first he kept pretending to be tired and not hear her, but eventually turned back around and brought them to the counter. When she took one of the bars and started scanning it multiple times, he stopped her and told her to scan them each individually to prevent any electrical interference, and then turned around and winked at me. I don't even think that's a word. After she scanned each bar and put them in a bag and started to say the price, he kept interrupting her by yawning really loudly.
Thanks for watching. Today I learned by the Reddit King. Please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.